already having to support students, but I'm a student myself. And so the professors, they haven't put the syllabi up. So I'm like, I want to do something. I want to go ahead and get ahead on some of the readings and some of the homework, but I have to wait for them to post that up into our learning platform.
Much you can see on the you're on both sides of the spectrum right now as a student and as an advisor to students. So you get to not only advise them but to experience what they actually are going through. That's a completely different twist, right? So we stand with you, Aisha, in this moment as we pray for you and your family, and we will do that collectively. But thank you for your candid response and sharing with us. Who's next?
Hi, my name is Alicia Collins. I live in Monroe, Georgia. I am showing up today grateful. Um, just grateful. I could complain about a lot, but I'm not. I'm just showing up grateful to be here. My birthday is tomorrow, so I'm just grateful.
Happy early birthday! Thank you. So
Thank you.
A lot of August babies in the house. Thank you so much, and happy birthday to you. Who's next?
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Rosalind Thomas. I'm from Atlanta. I'm showing up today. Very grateful as well. I think probably I've been so busy, I haven't been able to get on the call in a couple of weeks. So I'm glad to be back on today. Even though I may have to jump off a little early, but a few weeks ago, I had expressed to the group about my years of difficulty sleeping, and I got some really good recommendations, and some of which I followed. And for the past couple of weeks, my sleep has improved drastically. It's not ideally
Awesome.
where it should be, but
Mm-hmm.
it's so much better. I feel better because I'm sleeping better. So I just wanted to thank those who have been praying for me and who offered advice. So I'm just here grateful that, God is giving me the ability to sleep, and then therefore able to function a little better doing my 1440 during the day. So very grateful heart.
Excited for you and
Yeah.
excited that you are sleeping.
Yeah.
Welcome, welcome to the space. Lizzie,
Hey, how are y'all?
we are well.
So today is my first time here. I still even have to go through your whole group and do all the pieces. I joined, I don't know, I guess about a month ago,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot has happened and I just haven't been able to be present. Um, but I don't know. I saw the link today and I was like, I have time.
Awesome. Well,
So,
we welcome you.
oh, thank you. This is great. I want to know the tips and tricks for sleeping.
Well, we are a supportive environment, and every week again we talk about, how we're showing up, and we get feedback from each other, and so that we all are a great big team in this space, of supporting each other on the journey in entrepreneurship, in life, in business, and career.
Awesome.
So welcome to the call. All
Thank
right.
you.
I am showing up into the call again, a little perplexed, but I always make it out no matter what. So I'm feeling a lot better today. It's day number 3, and I'm breathing better. But I was moving around a lot, so I'm a little active because I did have a treatment maybe a couple hours before this meeting, and it usually makes me a little hyper. So the medicine, will make you a little hyper, which is why I'm trying to get into more holistic, direct inhalation, like essential oil drops, like clove bud and tea tree oil and lavenders, all the things that I have here in the home. So I'm working on that process, and I'm just again grateful, and to God be all the glory for being here, alive, right? So thank you all for coming into the space, and again we are welcoming each other into the space? Is there another newcomer in the space? Welcome to you, please. How are you showing up to the call? What's your name? Where are you calling in from? And how are you doing today? I don't know who you are, but you're showing up as an Aisha pal. Oh, is that Stephanie? Hey, Stephanie. Welcome. Haven't had you on the call yet. You're new to the call. Thank you for coming in. Stephanie, you coming in from what town again? Georgia? Can you speak or do you have to use the chat? And it's okay if you all have to use the chat. I understand that a lot of people are at work sometimes, and so you have to respond in the chat.
I'm pumping gas.
Oh, are you?
I'm pumping gas.
Well, do
I'm
what you.
calling from Birmingham, Alabama.
Awesome. Thank you for coming into the space, Stephanie. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we're going to go ahead and start walking through it very slowly. And I'm going to pull out little bits and pieces of it and see how it resonates with you. If you have your book, try and, follow along with me. And anyone who has their book with them today? Anybody? Anyone have it with them? No? Okay. All right, so we're just gonna move through this. First of all, the author starts this chapter with this wild story about this coder guy. He was a coder, and he made about $250,000 a year, and he was known and quickly gained this reputation of this amazing human being, this amazing employee, this amazing executive. And one of the things, what they didn't know was one day somebody noticed how he was spending his time, because he was in this cubicle and he would spend certain part of his time, let's say a certain part of his day, he would watch, as the author says, YouTube videos. Another part of the day, he would check out his Reddit, and then he would watch YouTube videos. Then he would take a 90-minute lunch. And the author goes on to say he'd come back from lunch, and then he would spend 3.5 hours on eBay, Facebook, and LinkedIn and other social media sites. And at 4:30, he would send a report, and he was on his way out the door. And everybody was wondering, how in the world does he do this and have, such amazing outcomes in his role? And what was his role? His role was a coder. Best Coder Award. That's what he received, the Best Coder Award. And it was discovered through the system. It was discovered that there was this internet exchanging on the what do you call that, the web IP. You know how your corporations can really see who's coming in and out of their firewalls. The firewall system can give you signals when your system is being infiltrated, especially by foreign companies. So there was this busyness going on between China and this company, and they were wondering why. And so they monitored the IP. That's how they monitored what he was doing, and they discovered that he was outsourcing. He was outsourcing. He was getting paid $250,000 a year, but he was outsourcing his work for $50,000 to someone in China. So he was net profiting $200,000 while someone else was doing the work at $50,000. Man, this guy was a genius. I thought to myself, this man is an absolute genius. They didn't find it funny at all. So he of course was fired. He was fired, and someone later said in the company, the comments came in and said, "What would you have done? What would you have done?" I would really like to know your thoughts on that story. Anyone got any comments about that? You can drop them in the chat if you have to. I really want to know because that story was wild. But I want to know everyone else's opinion about it.
Well, listen, I know they say that outsourcing allows you to, have a better quality of life. I mean, he probably violated some like confidentiality issues or whatever, the reason he was terminated. But, I would say that, you can learn that sometimes you can outsource people to do some task and then it frees you up to maybe do some of the things you want to do in life. But probably didn't go about it the right way.
No. Anyone else want to chime in on that story?
I would just agree. I think in regards to efficiency, it was a smart idea, but in regards to policies, maybe violated, it probably wasn't a good idea. But I agree, outsourcing can be beneficial, especially if you're wanting to take advantage of your time.
Exactly. Anyone else want to chime in on that story? Y'all missing these stories by not reading these chapters. I'm telling you, these stories are good. These stories are really good. Who else want to chime in?
Yeah, to outsource was a great idea. However, as everyone has already stated, he went about that the wrong way. If that was going to be, the way that he freed up his time, then he probably should have gone to HR first or his supervisor, whatever, to find out if he can become a contractor for the company.
Right.
And then he can outsource to whoever he want to outsource to, without any retribution.
That's true. That's so true, Stephanie, because as a contractor, you are running your own business. Right. But as an employee, you have a handbook, a manual, some policies that you must follow. So I can't imagine this guy, all day $250,000, and he is outsourcing for 50,000. So anybody else want to chime in before we move on? It says here, for the longest time, Bob's company was absolutely marveled at him, but they were not amused once they found out, and so they fired him. So let's talk about what the research says. The research says that people who actively look for things to delegate report higher levels of productivity, happiness, and energy, and are less likely to feel overworked and overwhelmed. Would you agree? And if so, why?
I would agree because, especially as far as productivity, um, the less time you have to spend on certain tasks, the more time you can devote to something else, even if it's just self care. Because a lot of times, even as entrepreneurs, and especially if you're starting up or you have a small business, then you wear a lot of hats. And that in and of itself, can be overwhelming at times, and it can be draining. Even when it's not overwhelming, it can be draining. And so you often find that you feel like you don't have the time for you that you need to, give to yourself. You don't have the time to get to all of the little tasks, and you're focused on the big things, and some of the little things fall through the cracks. But when you can delegate, then you can ensure that, okay, everything is being taken care of, the small things and the big things. You're, having the time freed up to give to yourself, to take care of yourself, to be better, for your business, for your clients, and, your family and just everybody involved. And so I absolutely, think that delegating is
Thank
And
you. Thank you for chiming in
chicken.
from Alabama. Or Alabama, is that Birmingham, Alabama? Thank you so much for chiming in, and we welcome you to the space today. We see you, Michelle from New York, and Alicia from um, Alabama. Yes, I got it right. Welcome, 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 everyone. We are on chapter 11. Welcome, Michelle. Love you, sis. And I gave the story about the coder guy, the opening story, which was amazing to me that someone would be so ingenious, right? But there was protocol that he missed when in his processes, right? So when I think about what Stephanie was sharing, I also think about why it's important to create community like this, right? This this program, let's talk about that for a second. This program design focuses a lot on collective work as a support group. Like there's no one person here who knows it all. We all have these amazing strengths, right? We walk in strengths where that I often say, what's your offering? Can you tell me what you're offering? Because I know that Rosalind's a lawyer. I might have taken a paralegal course, but I'm not a lawyer. Okay. Aisha Powell, she is doing higher education. While I worked in higher education for many, many years, she's advising students, which is a major part of her role and coordinating, programs for minorities. That's her thing, right? So she brings a special set of skills along with student policy in higher education, which is a big deal. Many of you bring expertise in real estate that's beyond me. Although I'm in the space, I'm not a real estate agent. I'm an investor. I like to find places to put my money. So I'm here to learn from those who sell property, right? Um, I don't know what Michelle's actual role is, but I've been knowing her for years, and she's a warrior. That's how I remember Michelle. She's a warrior, and she is a connector. Connecting people to resources has always been the thing that I remember about Michelle. We have a lot in common, actually. We go back to the Periscope days, and I don't know Talisha quite yet. I know her by name and having attended the community before, but have not quite gotten to know what it is that you do. Maybe one day we'll do a round robin and introduce what it is that you do. But this community is kind of one of those things that's an outsource. It really is. Like if we're gonna be here if we're gonna build a community together, we have to have all of the moving parts to be able to do that. Which means that I look to innovatively design this space that we all may come here and add value to the space, right? I am a nonprofit leader. This program is designed to support the development of nonprofit leadership and nonprofit work across the country. So a part of that is building the capacity to do that, which means that what am I doing essentially by building a collectively? Outsourcing so that you bring your knowledge, you bring your what your concerns are because your community needs might be different than mine. What if you're in rural and I'm in urban, or you're in the deep south and I'm in the upscale north? Or what if you out west and your landscape is wide and big and we live in, little old, let's see, what's a little old New Jersey on the map? Things look a lot different all over demographically, right? So it's important to have all the moving pieces together. So that's one of those things that when I think about this whole concept of what we're about to talk about of drop, delegate, or redesign, that's one of the things that you're going to begin to see here a lot as we grow in this community. Anybody want to talk about or touch base on in the words of Jeff Moore? Anybody have their materials with them? Michelle, do you have yours with you? We're reading chapter 11. Okay, so we'll go on, and in their own words, this is in the words of Jeff Moore, who is a president of 2 seafood companies and the founder of a global mastermind group called Thursday Night Boardroom. In his words, he says, my husband does this every single time. Right in the middle of this session, he'll come in and he will hit the ice machine. Did y'all hear that ice?
Nobody heard but you.
They all laughing.
I hear Mr. Savage Ice.
They all every single time he will come in and hit the ice machine. And it's on record. So anyway, in his words, he says, see your day for a higher perspective. Avoid leveraging your time for money. Instead, leverage your expertise and delegate the rest. What does that sound like to y'all? Give me your thoughts on that, on those words. This is the words of not just an executive of a company, the founder of a mastermind group. He says, see your day from a higher perspective. Avoid leveraging your time for money. Instead, leverage your expertise and delegate the rest.
Dr. Eve, we live in a world that we try to leverage everything for money, time for money, because what do we say? Time is money. So for a lot of us, we were not taught this. We were taught to think that we should exchange our time for money, but if we should just thinking about this concept, it means that when we leverage our expertise and delegate the rest, the money will come. Right. We never thought about it like that, but the money will come.
That's right. That's right. And so when I shared about the community, I shared exactly that. Like, why leverage all my time for money when I can create a beautiful space? I can leverage my expertise, but I just shared with you all bring in your own expertise, right? Same difference.
Difference because when we bring in an expertise, it might not be tangible cash at that time, but the value that we get from each other will turn into cash.
Correct.
Because I'm learning something from you that I can go capitalize on. You're getting something from me that you might be able to capitalize on, and it will probably bring a greater reward than I said, if I give you that, you give me $50.
Okay, correct. I see. Give me an example of what you're saying, Michelle.
Okay, so I am pointing people to resources, right? So I could have said, give me $50 and I give you this resource, right? But I gave that to you, and then you in turn know 50 people that you could say you could get that from Michelle. So that would be 50 times $50, right? And I just give you $50, and instead of giving you the resource, like I would say, well, let me point you to this.
I see. So I'm going to send you to a resource that can get you 50 more responses.
Exactly. So that would be 50 times 50. So that brings more money
True.
in
True.
than I would have said, okay, you give me $50, I give you this. And it stops right there.
Right.
But I didn't get
Transactional.
$50 from you, but I gave you $50 worth.
Uh-huh.
But you're gonna go and you said, well, Michelle can give you this for $50.
Okay, I see. So you're saying transactions have to be thought about, because that also you bring a special resource. And while it might seem transactional, it's actually connecting. It's a connector's job to connect us to the resources, just as what we do in this community, right? Does that align with what you're saying? Okay. Anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts about what Michelle said, and it's so true. I think sometimes, like, there are times when you give back, right? Like you give without an expectation of receiving anything in return, right? And that's just being in a position of like, who much is given, much is required. Like you give back because that's just a good thing to do, right?
Yeah.
In life in general. And then the other issue is that sometimes it's good to barter. Like I barter a lot with my friends. Like my best friend is a CPA, right? And so there may be times when, you know, I may go to her and like I might need her to do something really quick for me, give me a profit and loss statement or something because I'm, you know, trying to close a deal or whatever. She could probably charge me, you know, $750 or $1,000 because I, number one, asked at the last minute. She could charge me for that, but then she won't because then, you know, a month from now she may need. I need you to send a letter to somebody who didn't pay a bill, but can you draft me a letter? So we kind of barter. So I didn't penny pinch her, she didn't penny pinch me. So we have a network of people that, you know, sometimes I'm going to give to you, but then you also have a valuable service that you may in kind give back to me at some point. Correct. And then the last thing I wanted to say, and it's so ironic, I had this conversation with my god sister just a couple of nights ago because she works as an independent contractor and she gets some nice size contracts with some different organizations. She does like event production. And so she's been doing this one event for about 7 years. And so I just had to say to her, because every year it seems like the event becomes more difficult for her to do. And I asked her, I said, why do you think that is? Because by now I would have thought that you would have had like some systems in place where it should be running like clockwork. Like this should be one of your easiest contracts. You've been doing it for so long. And then we just started talking. She does not delegate to people. So it becomes, it's so burdensome for her. Like the event is the middle of September. So from like July to September, she's like in extreme stress. And I was like, girl, you could be delegating this to other people because you're sitting here making an Excel spreadsheet. Like, why are you doing that? There's somebody who can do that. You need to be working with the movers and the shakers and you know, developing ideas. So I guess when I think about it, when we think about, you know, maybe delegating some things, even when we do have to pay, right? Like I may pay you to, you know, get my groceries or get my dry cleaning or clean my house or do some administrative things for me, right? But the time that frees up, the 3 hours that it would have taken me to clean the house, go to the laundry,
correct.
You know, I now can take that 3 hours and use it to a higher level.
Yes.
To develop more money. So I think when we look at it that way, like you give a little, but you're managing your time in such a way that you're using your expertise or your skill set to yield you the highest good.
Exactly. That is another perfect example of what the author is saying about leveraging your time and money. And instead of doing that, avoid that, and instead leverage your expertise and delegate the rest. So, quick story. I used to work in academia, where my friend Aisha works now, for 10 years. And I was a manager And in that management role, I managed faculty and their tenure status and staff. And I was so used to doing so much myself that here I was not adequately using my staff the way that I should. And although I got really amazing evaluations, the one thing that I flaw that my evaluator saw above all was my inability to delegate because it was creating stress. And it was stress that I didn't need to have because I had a staff that I was not adequate. They had their own roles, and somehow I thought because they have their own roles that there was no room for anything else from under the that umbrella, which it was. Like they were there and ready to do certain things, but I don't know. It was just, something about letting go of certain things. But I have, because that was a thing, I have been working for years. And I'm telling you, the last, 24 years now it's been since I left the university, that is something that I absolutely work on first. Do I still struggle with it? I absolutely do. And I think that's because there's just a lack of knowing who does what and being okay with just because they don't do it the way that you do it, as long as they're ethical and they get it done, and that they that the communication is there, then you should be able to do that, right? And I think that's it. A lot of times we are so skilled in so many talented in so many ways that we don't realize that it's you're leveraging time for money. You're literally leveraging your time for money when I could have spent that time doing something else. But I did learn. I am learning. I continue to learn as I grow in the space, even here, right? Because I'm learning who all of you are, because we're going to have a conference. And when we have conferences and community events, I heard you, Rosalind. She said, I'm in the bartering space. She said, how can I barter? I know that like I said, I know she's legal. So if I have a legal question, I might have to go over there to Rosalind and say, how would you handle this contract for this building? I hear you, Rosalind. How will I handle that? Can you look this over for me? And then what can I do for you? Because I am always doing for people. And I really, my prayer even today was, God, show me how this is supposed to look. I don't want to walk in my will. This has to be your will because it gets tiring. And I don't ever want to get tired of doing what God has called me to do. So yeah, network is your net worth. Aisha?
I agree with everyone. And I won't tell a story because you guys kind of exemplify those components. But I just want to say when we don't let go of, or if we don't delegate, we limit ourselves in our innovation. Like we limit our brain capacity to dream, to create vision, to create missions, to strategically plan. And so there could be a whole nother world out there where we can grow or open up several businesses, but we limit ourselves and constrain us. And we may need to move on to a new chapter, as a believer. It may be another chapter God is pushing us into, but we limit ourselves because we want to stay in that control of that space and not want to delegate. So I just, opening people up to, okay, the fear of letting go, letting go. You may have a whole new chapter that God wants you to lead to.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Anyone else want to share on that?
I just want to say, what you just said just has my mind thinking, because there's some of us that we do something because this is what God told us to do, and we hold on to it close and dear
And as she says, it's when the time comes for us to close that chapter to move on to something else, we don't know how to let go because we keep saying, well, God had told me this. And not realizing that God has told you that for a season.
Right.
And we ought to be able to recognize when that season is done and when we ought to move on. She just made me think of that.
And that is good because that is a part of preparing for new seasons, you know, because seasons come and go. You know, he talks about that, you know. There's a time to every season, right? And growing new leaders, she mentions, Aisha mentions. So this is exciting. So let's talk about Tony Robbins. He shares, or no, a matter of fact, I'm just going to tap into the in their words because there's a lot of stories in here. And what I want to truly hear is your opinion about the words of other people's as it relates to, do I drop it? Do I delegate it? Or do I drop it, delegate it, or redesign it, right? So here's another scenario. In their own words, nothing will slow you down. Now, this is Andrea Waltz, who is a co-author of a best-selling book, Go for No, and a professional speaker. In her words, she says, nothing will slow you down, take you off track, or keep you unproductive more than doing things which you both do not like to do and are not good at. Anything that falls into that category must be outsourced to someone else, ideally who both likes it and has competence, as soon as possible. The extent to which you continue on those types of tasks is what will hold you back from truly loving what you're doing and also being fulfilled. Who wants to chime in?
I'll be back.
Did y'all hear Mrs. Savage?
Dr. Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Eve, that was very, very good. I'm going to say this before I go because I'm going to have to go. I'm getting ready to go into a meeting here at my job.
Mm-hmm.
But that resonates so much with me because I would try something that I know I don't have the expertise to and things like that just because I volunteer my time. I've said I'll do this and I don't want to let someone down. So I'm doing something that I'm very uncomfortable with when I could have just cast it up, delegated to someone else who does that so the job can be done right and efficient and without stress. And so I really resonate with that.
Thank you so much for sharing, Alicia. And before you go, I'm going to share a really quick story. Something Aisha and I have long known for years now, since we have developed strength training. There's a salesman. The salesman goes from door to door. He makes millions of dollars. He loves going door to door. So he's recognized as this renowned salesman. And so they upgrade him and they promote him and they say, hey, we want you to manage the other salespeople. I guess they want him to exchange secrets, or with the other salespersons to increase their outcomes. Well, they put this guy in the office, and he's now manager over these people, and he is not doing well. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Anybody want to tell me?
Because he's used to doing what he does by himself. He didn't have to delegate that because he had to go and make that sale for himself. And I don't think he knows how to train other people to be him because that's an individual thing. So until probably I think I would have put him in training before put him in that position.
Okay.
To be a teacher, because he's not a teacher, he's a salesman. And a salesman is a salesman.
That's right. So thank you. So thank you for sharing that. Anybody else want to take a stab at that? I love your opinion, Michelle. Thank you for chiming in from New York. Anyone else want to take a stab at that? What's wrong with that picture? That he's gone from street door knocking doors and making millions to managing salespeople in an office. What do you think's wrong with that? Talisha, you want to chime in? Okay, thank you so much, Aisha. It was wonderful having you. She says, she said this is really putting delegation in the forefront as I start conference planning. I'm so exciting to be able to have conversation and engage you with that process. So we'll share with you really quickly why that was. So I'm a strength trainer, and I am in this program that you see here. We train leaders to first identify their strength zone. And the reason why we train leaders to identify their strength zone is for that exact reason. I discovered after 30 years of working that I am an organizer, I am an activator, I'm a connector, I'm a maximizer, self assured, and an influencer. I know how to, that's where my strengths are, right? But I was in offices where I was always asked, who asked you to do that? Never being able to really work at optimal levels or to be a thinker or, be critically make moves or any of those things. So one of the things that salesman was struggling with, you're welcome. One of the things that salesman was struggling with was he was outside of his strength zone. His strength zone was community. His strength zone was being one-on-one with people. He was not a manager. He did not know how to manage people. That was not his zone. So, of course, all too often in workplaces and organizations, and we are hired for a specific position, but when it's time to grow, often we are not growing in the area of our strengths or our strengths. Have you ever gotten that question on your application? Because it really made me think about when you fill out an application and they ask you, what are your strengths? What do you usually say to that question? Do you think about it? You have to think about it. I no longer have to think about that. I'm automatically going to put those strengths that I know. I've been tested. I've read the book. I've gone through the process of understanding my skills and my talents. So I'm automatically going to put the skills: activator, connector, maximizer, self-assurance, and influencer. I like to talk to people. I like to help people. I like to, build things. I like to create things and design things and build community. That's me. That's my skill. And I do it, and I do it well. So that manager, he was walking outside of his strength zone. So that's what I hear when I hear Andrea Waltz, the author, share in this space about how you do something you don't like doing. You're better off not doing that, giving that to somebody else. Do not walk outside of your strength zone. Does that make sense? Anybody? I would love to hear from Stephanie. Stephanie, you're welcome. She says, thank you. This conversation has been very thought-provoking. Okay. And it is important to surround yourself with others who will push you in your thinking and actions towards being your best self. Thank you so much from Alabama. We appreciate you for coming into the space. We are coming to a close as I tap into one more, and that's in their own words. Says here, Lewis Howes, he's also a best-selling author and entrepreneur, and he says, focus on what you are great at and hire everyone else to do the rest. I think that's what we've said here today, correct? Would he be spot on in what he's sharing? So true. Talisha says Talisha, where are you from? Georgia?
Yes, I'm from Georgia.
Okay, thank you so much for coming into the space. So let's talk really quick. He outlines in the back of the chapter, there are a few things that we want to wrap this chapter up with. And that is, the bottom line is you should try to outsource everything you can unless, one, you enjoy doing it and it's part of your rest and recharging process. Two, it's part of your values to continue doing the task. Three, it costs you more per hour to outsource it than you want to make yourself. Does that make sense? So there's three takeaways that we must know. Outsource everything unless you can. Let me go back. Outsource everything you can unless you can enjoy doing it and it's part of your rest and recharging process. Two, it's part of your values to continue doing the task. Three, it costs you more per hour to outsource it than you want to make yourself. In their own words, Jay Baer says, the founder of Convince and Convert and keynote speaker, every year audit your time and find a way to delegate at least 15% of what you're doing. At least 15% of what you're doing. The secret is focus your time only on things that utilize your unique strengths and passions. This is a chapter. Wow, I could have done this without really reading, but this is good. So how does this apply if you are an entrepreneur? Would being aggressive about outsourcing help you to spend more time using your unique abilities? How about as an executive? Would being aggressive about outsourcing enable you to reduce project costs? Or what about a freelancer? Would being aggressive about outsourcing enable you to spend more time utilizing your true talents? Or what about a student? Would being aggressive about outsourcing, for example, your laundry perhaps, help you to spend more time studying for the big exams? And then finally, your stay-at-home parent. Maybe you're a stay-at-home parent. That's a whole role. I'm a stay-at-home parent, entrepreneur. They all grown, but I'm a stay-at-home parent. Would being aggressive about outsourcing give you a few hours to exercise or recharge? Absolutely, right? So those are the secrets that they want us to take away from chapter 11. This was an amazing conversation. For those of you who came, we are excited, from Alabama, from New York, from Mississippi, from North Carolina, and all New York, and all the areas where you all are chiming in from every week to help us to redefine well-being as the highest form of equity. I am Dr. Eve, your International Health and Human Service Educator, excited to be on this journey with you all. This is week 36. Can you believe it? We have been doing this for 36 weeks, and I am truly excited. I see that Shani has joined. I also see that. So welcome back. Welcome back. I'm so excited to see you. I have been missing you. Do you want to take some time and share with us? I can't see everyone. Is there? Or Suzanne. Suzanne is here. Suzanne, do you want to take some time to share? We are nearing the end of our call, and it's been an exciting call, and we will drop this will be on the YouTube podcast once I edit it. And so again, I'm really excited for you all. Keep joining us. We are talking about next week And I really want to get your contributions and thank you again for all of your amazing responses, because we can't have a conversation without you, right? Chapter 12 is going to be, we just finished up chapter 11. Chapter 12, we're going to be taking a deep dive into what if one simple change to your calendar enabled you to have a quantum leap in your productivity. So we're going to toggle back to all of this basically talks about productivity, but we are going to be looking at that from some different themes that are emerging from co-founders who, from theme days. Theme days. Have you ever had theme days? Like there's Mother's Day, there's Father's Day, there's, in business, these days matter too, right? Have you lined your calendar that way where there's Earth Day? How can you utilize Earth Day as a way to market, right? Those are things. And do you do it yourself or do you outsource it? Do you connect to it? Because it's easy to connect to things that are already existing. So we're going to be talking about that next week, week 37, I believe it is. And so again, if you have any words, can you give me one word? Drop it in the chat. What are you taking away, or how are you feeling, or what are you taking away from this call today? What's one word, and how are you feeling walking away, or what's a takeaway from this call today?
I just want to say that as we go through the chapter, I realized that there were portions of it that applied to my life. So my takeaway is putting it together, that I can identify me. As you said, somebody can say who are you, and you can say that you're a connector, you're an influencer. I can look at myself now and sort of put that together in my life. So that's my takeaway, to be able to pull it together.
Awesome, Michelle. I see you as a connector. I'm willing to bet you that you are. If you took the test, you would be.
I thought of myself as that.
I mean, I know that about you.
I said, yes, I am.
Mm-hmm.
You pointed it out to me. But with you doing that now, then I'm able to look over this chapter and say, yes, I am that.
I'm going to make a reference for you, a reference material. The first thing we do in our program, which we're going to be launching in September, our 6-week program, I and We, which would take you from identifying your strengths all the way to implementing your idea into business. That's a 6-week strategy, even down to telling your stories and designing your program and how do you fit within the scope of the macro level of things. Like we don't want to think local, we want to think local, state, macro, and international. And so that is a part of our program structure. So the book that we are reading, which I'll go ahead and share it with you now, is Strength Zone. It's Strength Zone. So that is a book I will share with you if you want to go ahead and get started with that, because that's going to give you.
You can share it with me. Yeah. I'm a reader.
Okay, I will share that with you, and so that you can go ahead and get started, because it's nothing like knowing. It truly is nothing like knowing what your strengths are. It's that happy place. It's that place where you wake up every single day and you will do it whether someone pays you or not. Like I do this right here every day, every Tuesday. No one's paying for this. This is just what I wake up to do on Tuesdays. Why? Because it's important. Building the capacity to do bigger work is so important. And this is what I train other people to do within their strength zone, within their collective thing, that thing that they want to do. How do you build the capacity of a group to bring people in around the thing that you know and you're able to teach, right? So what does that look like? What would a design that look like for you? How could we build in this collective together? That Michelle shows up, Talisha shows up in her town, Michelle shows up in her town, Suzanne shows up in her town, but we're all, even though we're in this collective, we all have a different role. Like we all have different a different social issue that we're trying to combat or a different problem that we're trying to solve. Does that make sense? Talisha, what are you thinking right now?
I was just thinking what you said at the end of the call just then about doing what you love to do. That kind of hit home because today I was supposed to work, but I just started a new job, and so they have to look over my work that I previously did yesterday, and so today I was expecting to work because I'm off tomorrow for my birthday, but I'm like, well maybe God want to give you an extra day off, take this time and just enjoy it and just do something.
Correct.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Hope you have the most amazing day. And whatever you do, don't let anyone get in the way on your journey to becoming who God has called you to become. Have a happy birthday. Suzanne, you have any comments?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon. I apologize, I was late, so I'm not sure what was discussed today, but I am very thankful and grateful for you, Dr. Eve, because every time I listen in, even if it's for a little bit, it's very inspiring and it's very fulfilling and it helps guide some of my next steps. So
Awesome. Glad to be a help. We talked about
welcome and happy birthday
to Talisha. It's her birthday.
Yes, happy birthday.
So we talked about just really quickly. We just talked about how we use our time. Dropping things, delegating things, and or redesigning things that can help you to be more efficient. Like this, building a capacity of a community of leaders that can help you to be more efficient across the nation. Goal. It was a goal, everyone. It was a goal, and I'm so excited. Lizzie, how are you showing up after being in the call today? I know you had to drop off. What are you thinking about the space and where we are?
Hey, yeah, sorry, I had to drop off. I had to work somebody from work call, so because I'm working from home right now, I have to take the call.
It's okay.
So, but no, the space is beautiful. I mean, it is awesome. Y'all are so encouraging. Y'all are, it's just a breath of fresh air, really.
Well, we hope you come back.
Absolutely.
All right, everyone. That ends our call for today. And again, we'll see you back here next Tuesday. Mark your calendar. Bring some lunch. Bring something special to eat. Literally take your lunch break, so that we don't have to worry about someone, jumping off the call. Just take your lunch break. Put it on your schedule. This is when I'm taking lunch, and I'm gonna bring something good to eat. Okay? Everybody bring something good to eat next week. All right? Deal? Who's in for that? Anybody else?
Deal.
Bring something good. Let's eat. And we're going to see who bring the best meal next week. I'm excited, everyone. And until next time, we'll see you next Tuesday. Peace and blessing, and shout out to you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Michelle, before you go, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, that book was Strength Finders by is a Gallup 2.0. Let me get it so I can show it to you. Excuse me. Strength Finder. I'm sorry. It's called Strength Finder 2.0. Many people now are utilizing this book on the jobs because they realize how if they just create space for people, if they just create.
Okay, let me look. I'm just looking at it right away. So
Strength Finders.
2.0 Gallup.
Yep. Now you have to get the new version because it has a test in the back of it.
This strength. Oh, is the one that says with the access code or something like that?
Yes, it has an access code. You have to get it new because it has a test in there that once you read it,
Oh, okay.
you test so that they can give you your strengths.
Okay, so I'll just order it now in Amazon.
Yeah, it's like $20. It's the best thing since, I tell you, when I read it, I got so much understanding about myself. So it was like, that's why I love doing that, or that's why I found so much pleasure in, that's why I was unhappy about that. You know, it was just like, everybody's calling me right now. Are you still there?
Okay, I found.
Uh-oh.